In this video, we're going to look at data organization. I think it's important that before we start writing any kind of query, that we should understand the organization of a database. If you're familiar with Excel, then most of these things won't be new to you. Data in a database is organized into tables. So the data that we store in a database are being organized into tables. In a database, you could have multiple tables. Let's look at a single table, which I say picture it like an Excel spreadsheet. So a single table consists of rows and columns, and each table represents a specific entity or concept, and each column represents an attribute of that entity. So the table in this case representing a specific entity or concept. For example, you could have a table about students. So that table is representing students. So the specific entity here is students. You could also have another table that talks about the teachers. Now in this case, the table is representing the entity teachers. Or let's say we could have a table that shows you data of movies. That table is representing the entity of movies. So, and each column represents an attribute of the entity. So let's go back to the students table. So you could have a column as student's name or name. So that's representing an attribute of students, which is the name of the student. You could also have another column that talks about the age of the student. So that's representing the entity, another attribute of students. So in the world of databases, sometimes you may hear people say things like records, and they may say things like fields. Just know that records are rows and fields are columns. So just different names or different terms that people use to refer to rows and columns, records and fields. So a record is a row that holds data on an individual observation. The individual observation here could be in our student table example. The individual observation will be a particular student. That row is representing information of one student. Another row is representing information of another student. A field is a column that holds one piece of information about all observations in the table. Like we said earlier, a field could be the name of the student. So it's actually holding information about the names of all the students in that table. And this is an example. We have this table. This is the films table, and this table is basically giving us details about movies, and we can see the different fields here: ID field, title field, release year, country, duration, language, certification. These are all the fields, and we have different rows representing a particular movie. For example, the first row represents this movie Intolerance, and we can see all the details about the movie. If you know what a spreadsheet looks like at this point, that's what a database table looks like too.